Yo, YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to the Jonathan Hassinger channel. I, of course, am your host, John Hassinger. For this out-of-theater reaction to Abigail. Stay tuned to the end of the video. Movie theater etiquette violations. Went into this movie knowing absolutely nothing. I knew less than zero about this movie. There were two other movies playing in theaters right now that I wanted to see, but due to timing, because I'm a dad, I had to just settle on Abigail. I know it had decent reviews, but I had no clue. I thought maybe an Exorcist kind of thing, but I was pleasantly surprised. I just gotta say, I love a team-up. I am a sucker for a team-up movie. And Abigail is it's got a play on a team up. Cast is great. I always forget her name, but she plays Cassie Lang in the MCU. Kathryn Newton, Barrera, the girl from Scream who isn't in Scream anymore. The guy who played Keamy in Lost. All right. Anyway, Giancarlo Esposito. The pacing, terrific. The music, the score, excellent. The cinematography, great. Like I said, the actors, the cast, awesome. And overall, like from start to finish, a hell of a ride, especially if you have no clue what you're getting into before it starts. Before I get into the spoilers, I definitely recommend this movie. If you have a problem with blood, don't see this movie. But other than that, this is a great time at the movies. A spoiler warning, if you haven't seen Abigail, tune out now, go see it, and then come back. So the movie starts off with a group of, criminals, a team of criminals, kidnapping this girl, this ballerina. Obviously, she is rich. Her parents are rich. So they break in, they successfully kidnap her, they bring her back to this meetup place, and that's where Giancarlo Esposito meets them and kind of tells them what all their jobs are. Basically, the main character, Joey, you have to keep an eye on the girl. For 24 hours, you're just babysitting. The hard part's over. So they're all like, oh, yeah, cool. You know, like they don't know each other's names. They don't know backgrounds. They don't know anything about each other. And that's kind of how they want to keep it. But enter a girl, a young girl, who seemingly on the surface is just very inquisitive and is like really kind of disarming the main character, Joey. And getting her to spill all this personal information about her unknowingly, like bonding with this girl. So there's something going on about this Abigail. And they're like, well, yeah, but who's her dad? You know, like why, you know, like, how's he going to come up with the $50 million that we're holding her hostage for, holding her ransom for? And then, you know, she goes in to talk to the girl, or after she talks to the girl for a while, she's like, the girl finally says, yeah, look, my dad doesn't care about me. Like, you're not going to get what you want, and I'm sorry for what's going to happen to you. And Joey's like, okay. And she like goes out there and she goes to one of the other crew members who was a cop in New York and is like, are you sure you don't know who her dad is? And he's like, no. Why? She's like, I don't know. I don't scare easily, but I'm kind of scared right now. So then this cop, Frank, he's kind of like, And when no one's looking, he sneaks into the room because Joey, the girl, is the only one who's supposed to be in this girl's room. And even then, she puts a mask on. And he comes in and he accidentally is like, oh, I forgot to cover my face. And he's like, you saw my face? And pulls a gun out and he's like, who's your dad? Tell me who your dad is. And she's like, I don't know, I can't tell you. And she's like, tell me your dad. And she's like, my dad is some von German, sounding name. the next scene, this guy's like grabbing his jacket and like trying to escape, and they're like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, her dad is this name, and they all know who he is, and they're like, and the one guy's like, isn't that like a myth? And they're like, no, it's a real thing, it's a real person. So now, again, I don't know what is going on in this movie. At most, I thought exorcism, but I'm like, okay, that name sounds vampire. Okay, why don't we just try to make it the 24 hours and get the money, so it's not all for nothing? And for some dumb reason, they all agree to that. And so they start looking around the house. They're like, this guy is so dangerous. Her dad is so dangerous. Like, he might already be here. So we need to kind of like, so they're like, all right, you do a perimeter, you keep an eye on the girl, and everybody, so they're all like, okay, so they spread out throughout the house. At some point, Joey goes in to see the girl again, and Abigail tells her, Frank used to work for my dad. So she's trying to set him up. She's playing all of them against each other. So they're all in the room, and she's like, you killed the other 2 people? Because now 3 people have been murdered, like brutally. And she's like, how could you do it? And they're all screaming at each other, and Abigail's like getting annoyed by it, and she just starts doing ballerina moves, and all of a sudden she's a vampire. And everyone's freaking out, and they shoot her in the head, and she drops. And they're like, what the beep? And she sits up like the Undertaker and starts coming, and they're shooting her, and they close the door, and they lock it from the outside, which I don't know. And now all hell is breaking loose. Abigail's a vampire, and they're all trapped there. They can't get out. They try to get out. This one Marine guy's like, let's get out of here. They find out there's like cages all around the house. They don't even know when that happened. So it's basically now these 4 people left, trapped with a vampire. Just everyone mistrusting each other, trying not to die, trying to kill her, maybe not killing her, trying to find out what the motive is. They all find out that they're all just a game for her. Her dad, he's lived millions of years, and he sends all these people that are related to people who screwed him to the house for Abigail to torture for him. And so eventually she bites Cassie Lang, Kathryn Newton. They think that she's going to turn. They're like, she's like, what's going to happen to me? Like, am I going to turn? Am I going to be a vampire? And for a while, you think she's okay. She stands in the sunlight. She's like, everything's great. And then in real time, which I don't know, I don't recall a better way that they showed a vampire going from a human turning into a vampire with the voices in her head and the human noticing it's happening like seconds before it's like about to finish. Pretty amazing. And so then she kills Martin Keeney from Lost, and then they kill her, which is, it's crazy. She's running towards them, and she picks up this tray, reflects the sun into her, and she explodes. So they find out the sunlight is pretty much the most lethal way to kill this world's vampires. And it's even funny, at one point they're like, well, what kind of vampire is it? Is it Twilight? Is it True Blood? Like, how do we kill them? It was pretty neat. So it's down to Frank and Joey, and I think like they finally get into like the control room so they can hit the reset button, unlock all the doors, and they can get out. And they get in there, and Giancarlo Esposito's sitting behind a desk at all the monitors, and he spins around, and he's the vampire. So he smashes Joey against the wall, and Frank's like, fine, I'll join. So he bites him, and he turns him into a vampire, and he throws up all this blood. It's quite insane. And so he becomes a vampire, and Giancarlo Esposito turns around, and he goes, and he points to Joey, and he's like, here's your first victim, Frank. And all of a sudden, a stake comes out his heart, so he's dead. He explodes. And So then Joey and Frank are kind of like fighting. Frank's kind of like toying with her. She's like, why don't you kill me? He's like, what is the fun in that? And then all of a sudden they're on like the second story balcony, and he kind of just pushes her and she's falling. And Abigail comes in with the slide save. She catches Joey. And she's like, I don't have enough power left to kill him. You gotta help me. And they do. How do they? Abigail's got the stake, the pool cue stake, trying to get it, and he catches her. And then Joey comes and they both push, and an explosion. Almost like a Marvel movie, but it was blood. And then it was over. And then all of a sudden the front door opens. And her dad, Abigail's dad, walks in. And it was almost kind of like, and he's like, you know, I don't even know what his beef was. And Abigail is like, you fuck. She was here for me when you weren't. And he's like, well, I'm here now. And he's like acting all polite, and he kisses her hand, and he like tastes her, and he's like, I think you should leave. It's almost dinner time. And Abigail's like, thanks, Joey. And then before she leaves, she tells her son's name, because that was one of the things Abigail did in the beginning to try to get her to open it. You know, it's when she was manipulating her. She's like, oh, do you have a kid? What's his name? And she's like, I can't tell you his name. She's like, oh, call him Justin. She's like, but that's not his name. And she's like, it doesn't matter. And then when Joey's leaving, when Abigail's dad lets her leave, she's like, his name's Caleb. And she's like, at first, Abigail's like, tell Justin, or I hope you find Justin, or I hope you see Justin. And she goes, his name's Caleb. Abigail goes, I know. So, in recapping, I was really impressed and surprised and kind of happy that this movie didn't really involve kidnapping a little girl. And I just really thought it was a well done, fun time at the movies. Better than I thought, not as scary as I was worried. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. If you're a horror person, check it out immediately. So on to the movie theater etiquette violations. This is a father-son duo. So these two morons are on their phone the entire previews. They don't have AirPods in. They're just listening to the volume of their phone in the theater during the previews. Okay, I can forgive that. You can talk during the previews. I know it's in an episode of Seinfeld. When the previews end, these two numbskulls get up. The movie is starting. And these two idiots get up and they leave. So I'm like, did they just come to watch trailers? And then 4 minutes into the movie, they come back with their food. The son got up and stretched 4 times and then sat back down. And then with 20 minutes to go, they left. Now, the whole time, every time the son gets up and stretches, he's holding his cell phone, so the screen is shining and it has to be stopped. For daily trailer reactions, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week. I gotta go.